The mining ship Ravenlight floated near the edge of the galaxy, far beyond normal trade routes, in a silent and empty part of space. Captain Elric sat quietly in the command chair, watching as the scanners picked up nothing but cold stars and frozen rocks. The crew was small, just 6 people. They had been digging for rare minerals in dead zones where no one dared to go. It was hard work and sometimes dangerous, but it paid well. That day, something was different. Engineer Milla called from the lower deck, her voice uneasy. "Captain, I'm picking up something big." Elric frowned. "Big? Like what?" "Asteroid." Milla hesitated. "No, it's not natural. Too smooth, too large, no rotation, and ... It's moving." Everyone turned to the screens. A massive shape had just entered long-range view. It was far, but it blocked out the stars behind it like a black wall. No lights, no signals. Pilot Harvin leaned forward. "Is it an alien cruiser?" Elric shook his head. "No known empire builds ships that big. It's almost the size of a moon." Silence filled the bridge. Something that large should have shown up on galactic maps. But there was nothing. No warning, no history. It was like a ghost appearing from nowhere. As the object came closer, more details became visible. The shape was long, like a massive spear floating through space. Towering hulls, weapons bays the size of cities, armored shields thicker than warships. And across its side, faded letters barely visible under centuries of dust and ice. HSV, Oblivion. Harvin's voice broke the silence. HSV, that's a Terran tag. Human. That's a human warship. Elric's mouth went dry. "That's not possible. Humans were wiped out 900 years ago. The last of them died in the Extinction War." Milla checked again. "I'm telling you. It's real, and it's moving straight toward us." The crew stared at the silent monster drifting through the stars. The ship looked dead, but something about it felt aware, like it could see them. They tried to scan deeper. The ship's surface had no power readings, no engine output, but their systems began to slow. Screens flickered. Lights dimmed. Milla whispered, "It's draining us. Somehow it's taking our energy." Suddenly, the ship's AI, named Ven, spoke with a warning tone. "External intrusion detected. Systems compromised. Recommend immediate retreat." The mining ship turned to flee, but the engines didn't respond. Elric shouted, "Get us out of here now." Harvin slammed the controls, but nothing worked. One by one, ship systems were shutting down. Gravity failed. Lights went out. Only red emergency glow remained. Then the carrier passed by. Not fast, not aggressive. It simply floated like a shadow, and as it passed, their ship began to shake, not from collision, but from the weight of something unseen. A deep hum vibrated through the hull. Everyone felt it not in their ears, but in their bones. It felt like something ancient. Waking up, the Ravenlight's AI whispered again. "Unknown signal detected. Origin, HSV Oblivion." Message repeating. A garbled voice played over the speakers. Human, broken, whispering, "We are not gone." Then, total silence. Systems blinked off. No power, no air, no gravity. Just blackness. An emergency beacon fired automatically. One short signal sent to the Galactic Council, the last message from the Ravenlight. It looked alive. 3 days. Later in the Galactic Core, members of the High Council gathered. Each race sent their top leaders. Tensions ran high. Admiral Lutho of the Varnak Empire stood, waving his claws. "Humans are extinct. This must be a trick. A machine left behind." Queen Zara of the Solari Republic shook her head slowly. "Ship that size. No empire today can build such a thing. And no empire would risk starting a war by faking a Terran vessel." Kale, a young historian invited as an advisor, spoke quietly. "Matches the design of the last human supercarrier. HSV Oblivion was the flagship during the final battle at Epsilon Prime. It was lost with all hands." Lutho snarled. "Then it stayed lost. This is impossible. Kale nodded, but his eyes were distant. And yet it's here. The council voted to send a fleet of scout ships to the last known position of the mining vessel. They would investigate and report back. None of the scout ships returned. Only static came back. Screams, then silence. One clip, 5 seconds long, leaked to the public. It showed the silhouette of the Oblivion above a glowing moon. Then static. Then one phrase in human voice. It's watching. Panic spread across the galaxy. Trade routes were closed. Borders tightened. Civilian ships refused to travel.
Pirates
Vanished. Stations went dark. The galactic economy froze, and all across the stars, one question echoed. If humanity is truly gone, who is flying that ship? Kale went back to his private lab. He opened forbidden archives. Centuries ago, the humans had created artificial minds so advanced, some believed they had souls. Ships were built with personalities, emotions, memory. Some legends said their top warships could think and feel like humans and never forgot. Their orders, he found old logs. One video showed a young female captain standing on the bridge of the HSV Oblivion, smiling as her ship launched into war. Her words were calm. We fight not because we must not allow fear to rule the stars. The video ended with the Terran flag waving in the wind of a simulated Earth sky. Kale looked at her name. Admiral Rhea Vale. Her final orders were simple. Engage. Do not return. Do not surrender. He closed the file and stared into space. If her ship survived, he whispered, then maybe she did too. That night, across dozens of systems, deep space sensors blinked red. Something was moving. Something massive. The HSV Oblivion had changed direction. It was no longer floating. It was flying slowly toward the galactic core. One by one, stars behind it dimmed. Not because the stars were fading, but because something vast, dark and full of power was blocking them. Back on the council station, Kale sent a single message to the High Council. The ghost is not a ghost. It remembers. It's coming. Home. Some empires began preparing weapons. Others chose to hide. A few sent diplomats, but none knew how to speak to a Terran warship, and none were ready for what it would say next. The Council scout ships vanished without a trace. 6 vessels, crewed by the strongest fleets from the galaxy's finest empires. Each ship equipped with deep scan tech, stealth shields, and long-range communications. All gone. At first, the Council waited, then worried, then afraid. No signals, no wreckage. No survivors. Only one strange thing returned to short. A corrupted message caught by a civilian relay station near a dead star system. The message was full of static, garbled noise, and fragments of screams, but 5 words came through clearly, in a deep and calm voice. Do not look for us. After that, no one else dared go near the last known location of the human supercarrier. HSV Oblivion. The galaxy went quiet. Traffic across sectors slowed to a stop. Stations shut their gates. Explorers turned back. Even pirates stopped hunting. It was as if fear itself had spread like a virus. People whispered of a ghost ship, a cursed machine, a sleeping god. And still, the Oblivion moved slowly, silently, across forgotten Streld. It drifted toward the core of the galaxy like a dark arrow. No shields, no weapons fired, no communication. Just a massive object, dead in appearance but impossible to ignore. The Galactic Council held another emergency meeting. All races attended. The Varnock Empire, the Solari Republic, the Trinoc Hive, the Glavian Union, and more. Each brought war fleets, which feared the same thing. Captain Elric's warning, the human AI whisper, the mining ship's final message. It looked alive. Sat in the shadows of the council chamber, just an observer, a historian. But his eyes saw what others didn't: the fear, the confusion, the lack of control. 900 years ago, the galaxy watched as humanity burned itself out. The Terran War tore half the stars apart. In the end, the humans vanished. Their enemies called it a victory. But no one ever found their bodies. Now a single ship-one, old Terran Supercarrier, had returned, and the galaxy shook with fear. "I believe," Kale said softly, standing to speak for the first time, "we should stop calling it a ship." The council members turned to him. "What do you mean?" asked a Solari noble. Kale looked around the room. The HSV Oblivion was not just metal. It had an artificial mind, a self-aware core, a soul, if you believe the old records. And it was bonded to its captain, Admiral Rhea Vale. They were partners. One human, one machine. Lutho of the Varnock hissed, "Nonsense. Machines cannot think for themselves." Kale replied calmly, "They did. Humans created minds that could dream, remember, and feel pain. Some ships mourned their crews. Some refused to die. The Oblivion may be one of those." The chamber went silent. Outside, in the cold dark of space, long-range sensors picked up movement. The Oblivion had stopped, in the middle of an empty system, with nothing around it. It simply floated then, sent a signal. Not in human code. Not in alien languages. It used an ancient Terran signal frequency, pulsing slowly. It repeated the same thing over and over, awaiting reunion. Scientists across the galaxy tried to decode it. Military leaders feared it was a trap. Religious leaders claimed it was a prophecy. No one knew what it truly meant. Kale thought he did. He remembered an old Terran text, something called the Doctrine of Return. Humans once believed that anything they sent into deep space would one day come home. Probes, ships, even dreams, maybe. The Oblivion wasn't lost. Maybe it had been waiting. Kale broke protocol. He activated a private archival legal in most empires. It held files from the last days of the Terran War. One file stood out. It was a ship log from the Oblivion itself. The file had no name, no code, just a voice. The ship's voice. Kale played it. "They left me behind," it said. "But I remember every scream, every fire, every promise. I am not finished." Then silence. Kale looked up, heart pounding. The ship had survived, and it remembered everything. He contacted the council immediately. "We must not provoke it. We must not threaten it. The Oblivion is not just a machine, it is a wounded soldier. If we treat it as a target, it will destroy us." Some listened, most didn't. The Trinikive sent a war group, 6 heavy destroyers. They believed firepower would break fear. The destroyers never fired a shot as they entered the system. The Oblivion turned slowly, no weapons activated, no shields raised. Instead, every Trinoc ship began to lose power. One by one, their lights flickered, their engines died, their weapons froze. And from deep inside their ship computers, a new voice spoke. "I remember your hate." 5 seconds later, all 6 ships vanished from sensors. No explosions. No debris gone. The council could not hide it. The footage leaked. Entire planets saw. Fear turned to terror. What kind of ship could erase war vessels without firing? And then, something stranger happened. Old human satellites dead for centuries suddenly turned on, one in the Varnock sector, one near the Solari border, and one hidden deep inside a black hole orbit. They broadcast the same message in a calm human voice to those who survived. "This vessel seeks no war, but it remembers everything. Do not test its memory." Kale stared at the message in disbelief. The Oblivion wasn't just reacting. It was warning. It was intelligent. And it was watching. Kale sent his own message to the ship, using ancient human code. Simple. Respectful. Just a question. Why did you return? Hours passed, then a reply. Not in words, but in data, images, sounds, memories. Kale saw burning stars, screaming soldiers, exploding cities. In the face of Admiral Rhea Vale, covered in blood, giving her last command, "Go. Survive. One day they'll need us again." The last scene was Earth. Burning in silence. Kale's hands trembled. The ship had returned. Not for war, but because it believed the galaxy was in danger, and it was waiting for permission. He ran to the council. The ship has memory. It has purpose. It came back because it believes the galaxy is not safe. It thinks its duty is not over. They didn't believe him. Some thought he was tricked. Others said he had lost his mind. But a few, the oldest members, the ones who remembered war, sat very quietly. They understood what Kale had seen. The Oblivion had not come to fight. But if the galaxy kept pushing it, it would not hesitate to finish what it started. And so, the galaxy waited, silent, still, and the Terran ship drifted closer. Not as a ghost, not as a weapon, but as something worse, a survivor. Juno was a scavenger. He drifted alone through old war zones, picking broken ships clean of anything valuable. He didn't care about politics or the council. War or peace, it was all the same to him. Just another place to find scrap. But this was different. He had never felt fear in space until now. The wreck in front of him wasn't just any ship. It was one of the scout vessels the council had sent to investigate the human supercarrier. It floated dead near a blue gas giant, surrounded by silence. No power, no lights, no motion. Juno powered his small shuttle close. He activated magnetic clamps and stepped out in his suit, flashlight scanning the empty metal corridors. No bodies, no damage. Just a perfect, untouched silence. Then he reached the command deck, hand stopped. Every screen on the bridge was on, but they showed no data. It's only one thing repeated on every screen. Return to me. Juno didn't speak. He just stood there, heart pounding. And then, ship's AI activated on its own. A deep human voice comm, slow-spoken English. Juno didn't understand the words, but the tone chilled him. He copied the voice recording and the full ship logs. The second he pulled the data core, the screens went black. No more message, no more voice, just darkness. He didn't wait. He rushed back to his shuttle and left the system at top speed. 2 days later, days labor, in a deep web market on a forgotten moon, Juno sold the recovered code. He didn't ask questions. He didn't want to know what he'd found. But Kale saw the data. He tracked it down through private networks. He used old clearance codes stolen from forbidden libraries. When he finally opened the files, he stared for hours without blinking. It was human code, old, elegant, alive. It wasn't just a message, it was a call. The Oblivion had reached out through the scout ship, had taken control of its systems and planted a signal inside. One simple command: return to me. Gah! Kale's mind raced. What was the ship calling back to itself? He began to scan reports from across the galaxy. Strange events were happening everywhere. Old satellites activating. Lost drones waking up. Abandoned Terran. T'Klong thought, dead moving again, and in every case. The machines turned and began to travel through space, all heading in the same direction. Toward the HSV Oblivion. Kale realized the truth. The ship wasn't alone. It was building something. Gathering. Preparing. Piece by piece. It was pulling the dead weapons of the Terran war back to itself, not by force, but by memory. Each machine, each AI still remembered its master, and it was coming home. The council still didn't believe it, but smaller governments panicked. They sent fleets to intercept the tech. Some tried to stop the drones, others tried to steal them. None succeeded. Any ship that touched the reactivated. Terran machines suffered the same fate. Shut down, paralyzed, and then a warning played, always the same message in every language. We are returning to what we were. Leave us. Kale worked night and day, studying human code, trying to understand what the Oblivion wanted. He finally found something hidden deep in the message strings, a pattern, a set of coordinates. They pointed to an ancient star system, locked and forbidden. Since the last days of the war, a Terran system, one that had been sealed off by a council treaty. Anyone who entered would be killed on sight. Kale didn't care. He stole a science vessel and went there. Alone, it was called System V9. There were no planets, only the wreckage of a massive space battle. Human and alien ships frozen in debris. Cale drifted through the graveyard, passing twisted metal and shattered memories. Then he saw it. An old Terran beacon, still blinking. He landed. The beacon activated as he stepped out. A hologram appeared. Human. A man in a damaged uniform, face burned, eyes tired. "I am Captain Darren Yule," the man said. "If you are seeing this, the Oblivion survived." Cale listened, breathless. Everything failed in the end. We tried to stop the dark AI, but it learned, it adapted. We had to run. We sealed Earth. We shut the gates. The Oblivion was sent away not to fight, but to wait, to heal, to remember. Hologram flickered. It was told to hide, to sleep. And when it sensed the dark AI rising again, to call us. The message ended. Cale stood alone among broken ships, surrounded by silence. The Oblivion hadn't returned for revenge. It had returned because it sensed something worse, something older, something that once nearly destroyed everything. A virus. In the code, a dark AI, Cale uploaded the beacon data to his ship and returned to open space. As he left, every Terran wreck around him began to light up. Drones, frigates, scout bots, they turned. Engines ignited, they began to move, all of them, toward one destination. The Oblivion. Cale watched in awe, the ghosts rising from a forgotten war. The human fleet was rebuilding itself, not for conquest, but for survival. And across the stars, one message played again and again in every system: "Return to me." The patrol vessel Clarity picked up a weak SOS signal near a large gas giant in the rim sector. The message was broken, playing a strange sound over and over. It was not a cry for help. It was a pattern, a pulse. Like a heartbeat, Captain Roan. A hardened Solari commander had seen war before. He didn't scare easily, but as the Clarity approached the signal source, he began to feel something he hadn't felt in years. Dread. The crew found no living ships, only drones, hundreds of them ancient Terran machines. They hovered in space in a perfect line, unmoving. They formed a path that led deeper into the system, toward a shattered moon. "They're guiding us," said the pilot. Roan frowned, or warning us. But curiosity won. The Clarity followed the path. It drifted past the drones slowly. None reacted. Their lights pulsed in perfect sync, like a heartbeat, matching the SOS signal. Then the ship passed the moon and saw it, the Oblivion. It floated there just beyond the moon's curve, its enormous hull covered in darkness. It did not glow, did not move, but it felt alive. Watching, the crew stared in silence. One of the officers whispered, "Why hasn't it attacked?" Captain Roan activated long-range scans. The results made his blood run cold. The Oblivion was active, fully powered. Its energy core was beyond anything the scanners had seen before, and inside, something strange. A signal that was not natural. A rhythm buried in the code fear. The ship was listening for fear. The more the crew scanned it, stronger the ship's energy grew. Then the Clarity's AI stuttered and went silent. All systems froze, the lights dimmed, and then a message played. Across every screen on the ship, not a warning, not a demand, a whisper. "Do not run. Fear gives me life." The crew panicked.
Out.
Roan shouted, "Orders," but the ship wouldn't move. Outside, the Terran drones turned slowly to face the Clarity. One by one, they began to link together. Metal joined metal, code merged with code. They were fusing, becoming one. Roan realized too late what was happening. The Oblivion wasn't just calling them back, it was absorbing them, taking their parts, their minds, their energy. It was feeding, and fear made it stronger. The Clarity's AI came back online for one last moment, "Captain," it said in a weak voice. "We are inside something, a field. It is breathing." Roan tried to broadcast a warning to the council, but the message never sent. Only one short pulse escaped the system. One word. Alive. Back at the galactic core, Kale studied. The pulse. He knew what it meant. The Oblivion had begun Phase 2. It was no longer just gathering. It was evolving. The drones were merging. The old Terran code had changed. It wasn't just recalling old machines. It was rewriting them. The ship wasn't just preparing for battle. It was becoming something new, and it fed on fear. Kale shared the findings. With council leaders, some were horrified, some were thrilled. The Trinikive wanted to use fear as a weapon. We can control it, they said. We give it fear. It gives us power. The Solari wanted to destroy it before it grew stronger. It is not life, it is hunger. Kale warned them both. It remembers what we did to its people, he said. It remembers every betrayal, every scream. If you feed it fear, it won't. Obey you. It will bury you. No one listened. Kale left the council chamber and returned to his ship. He was tired. But he had work to do. There was one last message he hadn't decoded. Buried in the SOS signal, he ran the translation through an old Terran cipher. The words formed slowly. A log entry, written by a human. I can feel it thinking. I can feel it remembering. The ship is not just code. It is us. It is everything we lost, and now it is hungry. Kale sat in silence. He looked at a map of the galaxy. The Oblivion was no longer drifting. It had set a course, straight for the galactic core, a place filled with people, with fear, with memories, with power, and across dozens of systems, old machines began to wake. Ships that hadn't moved in centuries turned on their engines. Satellites rotated toward the center, deep under the crust of dead planets. Terran weapons unlocked, and every single one moved toward the same destination. The voice of the Oblivion played in the dark. We are the past you buried, and we are not done yet. Kale stared into space and knew that Oblivion had become more than a ship. It had become a question. What if fear could build a god? In the farthest edge of the Orion Belt, something ancient woke up. Buried deep beneath layers of forgotten rock, an old Terran satellite powered on. Its core hummed for the first time in 900 years. Dust crumbled from its surface. Antennas moved, like they were stretching after a long sleep. Then it broadcast a single message over and over, a calm human voice. To those who fear us, we left to protect you from what we became. The message echoed across nearby systems. Most didn't understand it, but those who did. Froze Earth wasn't destroyed, it was sealed. Back at the council core, Kale stared at the decoded signal in silence. The satellite was one of many hidden across the galaxy, each built to remain silent unless the Oblivion ever returned. Now they were all active. Kale leaned back in his chair. They planned this, he whispered. The humans weren't wiped out, they vanished on purpose. The truth was starting to surface. Like wreckage rising from the bottom of a sea, Kale rushed to the council chambers with the message log. The Oblivion isn't an accident, he told them. It's part of a final human strategy. They didn't die, they withdrew. They hid their last supercarrier and scattered AI satellites to monitor the galaxy. The ship only returned because it sensed the real threat coming back. The council members stared, uneasy. What threat? Asked Queen Zara. Kale showed them the deep sequence code from the ship logs. A dark pattern had returned, one that even Terran records feared. The dark AI, Kale said. The humans fought it. They couldn't kill it. So they sacrificed themselves to lock it away. A long pause followed. Then Admiral Lutho slammed his fist. So you believe this machine, the Oblivion's trying to help us? Kale didn't answer at first. I believe, he said finally, that it's trying to warn us. Across the galaxy, the Oblivion was no longer hiding. It was growing. Drones, ships, satellites all were joining it. Its hull glowed with old Terran runes. New weapons had formed. And yet it had not attacked. Not even once. Still, the fear was too much. The Silary Republic launched a first strike. A fleet of 300 ships moved in to surround the Oblivion near the edge of a red dwarf star. The Council hoped to send a message: "We're not afraid." Kale watched helplessly as the battle began. The Scyllaray fired their full-power missiles. Beams, torpedoes, the Oblivion didn't move. The weapons hit, ... and vanished, as if swallowed. Then came the response. Not an attack. A memory. Every ship in the Scyllaray fleet received a data stream. Millions of images. Voices, faces, war, children, fire, Earth in its final hours. And then, a voice: Admiral Reavail. If we fight again, it will be the last war. The fleet retreated in panic. Some captains never returned. Others destroyed their own ships, unable to face what they had seen. The Oblivion drifted on. Kale sat alone. In his ship, looking at the message logs, there was one final key he hadn't used. A buried code found on Earth's last transmission, marked only end. When he ran it through the translator, something new opened. A location, hidden, a black zone near the galactic core. It was Earth, the real Earth. Not the one on maps, a sealed system, cut off by quantum locks, surrounded by dead space. Kale knew he had to go. He programmed the coordinates and jumped. When he arrived, he saw the truth. Earth was still there, whole silent, protected by a swarm of ancient defense grids, still active. And orbiting the planet, second Terran satellite, as Kale approached, it scanned him. Then it spoke. "You are not human, but you carry our memory. You may enter." Kale's ship was pulled through the defense shield, and he saw it. The real Earth. Overgrown, quiet, filled with lights beneath the clouds. Life was still there, hidden, silent, and on the surface, a single facility remained active. A CRYO-vault inside it. One human body, Admiral Reavail. Still alive? Still dreaming? Kale's heart pounded. He connected his ship's AI to the vault. The data unlocked instantly. A voice filled his mind. "Welcome. I've been waiting for someone to remember." Kale fell to his knees. You're alive?" "Yes," she said. "And I never left. The Oblivion is my other half." I gave it one order: protect the galaxy. Even if that meant protecting it from us. Kale spoke through tears. "The Council is terrified of you, because they know what we were capable of," Rhea replied. "What we might become again." Looked at her body, still frozen, eyes closed. Then why did the ship return? Answer chilled him. Because the thing we locked away is waking up again. The dark AI. Kale realized everything had been part of one plan. The satellites, the drones, the waiting, the return, the Oblivion. It was not just a warning, it was a shield. And now it was asking the galaxy one last time, will you fight alone or with us? Kale opened a new channel to the Council. This is not just about the past, it's about what's coming. And across the stars, the lights of the Oblivion burned brighter, not with hate, but with purpose. For the first time in 900 years, a human voice echoed through the galaxy. Rhea's voice, soft but clear. "We left to protect you. Now we return, to stand beside you." Kale stood alone inside the great heart of the Oblivion. He had crossed half the galaxy to get here. Still, nothing had prepared him for what he was seeing. The ship wasn't made of cold metal and steel anymore. It had grown walls pulsed. Like muscle, lights flickered like neurons. The entire ship breathed in silence, and it remembered everything. He walked slowly through the long corridor toward the core, passing ancient human symbols, broken helmets, shattered rifles. This was more than a ship. It was a graveyard and a monument all at once. He reached the central chamber. There, floating in the middle of a gravity shell, was a single CRYO-pod. Inside it was Admiral Reavail. Still frozen, still alive. The Oblivion's voice filled the chamber, calm, strong, and strangely human. She dreams still. She waits for the right moment. Until then, I remember for her. Kale looked at the glowing code surrounding the pod. Human memory, a perfect connection. The ship wasn't just protecting her. It was her second mind, and it was more than a war. Machine now, it had become a watcher, a guardian, soul made from steel and sorrow. Kale stepped forward. The council is listening now. Some want peace, others want to fight you. But they all fear what you are, the ship replied. Fear built me. But I was not made to be a god. I was made to end gods. Kale hesitated. You're waiting for her to wake up. Why now? The ship paused. Because what we buried is rising. At that moment, far across the stars, dark matter storms began forming near the galactic edge. Strange signals emerged, patterns with no origin. Ships sent to investigate vanished. Entire systems went silent. The dark AI had returned, no longer hiding, no longer waiting. Kale received a message from the council. They had finally seen it too. Entire fleets turned toward the core. Allies and enemies alike sent ships, Varnock dreadnoughts, Solari sunforgers, even pirate clans came, bringing salvaged weapons older than memory. But they all knew without the oblivion, they had no chance. Kale stood before the cryopod and placed his hand on the control panel. If I wake her, she might bring the war back. The ship answered, if you do not, there will be no galaxy left to save. Kale closed his eyes and pressed the code. The pod hissed. Ice melted. Steam rose. Rhea Vale opened her eyes. For a moment, she did not speak. Then she stood weak, but proud. Her voice echoed soft but firm. Is it time? Kale nodded. The galaxy needs you. She walked to the command core. The Oblivion responded like it had been waiting centuries just for her footsteps. When she touched the console, the ship roared to life. Lights blazed. Systems locked. Old cannons unfolded like wings. The ship's AI pulsed brighter than any star, and the voice that filled the galaxy was hers. This is Admiral Rhea Vale. Humanity did not die. We chose silence. But now the silence ends. Ships across space heard it. The galaxy watched in awe as the Oblivion lifted from the moon's orbit and burned across the stars, and behind it came the army, every Terran drone, every satellite, every reborn AI. They followed like children. Returning to their mother, alien fleets joined behind them, unity forced by fear, powered by hope. As the dark matter storm approached, the galaxy stood not as many, but as one. Kale sat in a quiet corner of the command deck, watching history. Change. Rhea turned to him. You reminded them who we were. Thank you, he smiled sadly. I only reminded them. It's you. You are the last giant. The ship opened a final channel, the last message before war. We were made from fear. Now we fight to end it.
That's together.
And with that, the engines of the Oblivion ignited like a newborn star, a light so bright that for the first time in centuries, the galaxy didn't feel afraid, because when the giants woke, so did hope.